So has the entry into Rajya Sabha and your unopposed win from Telangana given you closure to what had happened in Himachal a few months ago? Do you see it as a befitting response to the BJP's actions there?
No, no, I don't see it as that kind of a antagonistic battle. I see it much more in philosophical terms. Number one, I saw the worst of human nature in some of the people I dealt with in that great state which I'm in love with, Himachal. Along with that, I saw some of the noblest human feelings there as well. Uh, but there is some degree of divine retribution or divine balance or divine justice. All of those people, nine of them, six of them Congress and three of them independent, but strongly supported by the Congress, were enjoying the fruits of office of an incumbent government. They were getting support in their constituencies. Six of them are now out of the assembly. I was in a sense collateral damage. The government did not change. They were disqualified. They tried to challenge the disqualification, they lost. Elections, they lost. And now, in a very strange completion of the circle, I am told that there are proposed laws being passed by different states, I am not sure about Himachal, saying that those who are disqualified for misdemeanors, because it's a constitutional sin it is called, will not get pension. So, what did it get them? They have to introspect, not me. Telangana was a wholly different cup of tea. I had many old friends there. It was nice to see them again. And it went very smoothly, but I must thank all those MLAs who proposed my name, of course, starting with the Chief Minister who managed it so well. Even before that, starting with the High Command who thought of me. I have publicly thanked the Congress President, the former two Congress Presidents, for reposing this faith and trust. But in a sense, the University of Adversity and the University of Experiences is the highest degree you can get. It doesn't match any other law or PhD degree you can have, and I have a PhD degree.
So, so how do you see the Congress placed post June 4? While many have seen it as a victory, the BJP and the critics point out that it is the third time that the Congress has not crossed the 100 seat mark. So, is it a matter of concern, or how do you see
See,
it?
I think this is some kind of idle academic statistical talk. 100 we have crossed, whether you call it 99, someday it becomes 101, someday it becomes 100. But I don't see it in mere figure terms because we have to grant it to Modi, Mr. Modi, that he has become the Prime Minister. We are not saying that he is not the Prime Minister, but he has been diminished by X seats. Call it 70, call it 65, call it 75. We have been enhanced by that very. Don't you think that's a very cataclysmic event given the hype and the hullabaloo surrounding it? Number two, I think this is a befitting response by the people of India, whom I hold in the highest regard above everything else and whom I must salute, to give a befitting reply to the intersection of extreme degrees of arrogance and infallibility, a notion of infallibility. I think that corrective itself is enough to tell that be so however high you are flying, there is some law of nature above you. Thirdly, I think it actually brings in good governance because it puts inbuilt safeguards and brakes which are good for governance. Unilateralism, dictatorship, dictatorial attitudes can lead only to rollbacks. You have a knee-jerk demonetization. You have an equally knee-jerk farm laws, mandi laws. You have suddenly some lateral entry issue. So, this unilateralism should be curbed. I am not talking about this government, that it's good for all such governments acting unilaterally to be curbed.
So, just an attached question to that is that the government is reworking the broadcast bill. It rolled back the lateral entry move. There was also JPC, Waqf bill was sent to the JPC.
There are many examples.
Yes, sir. So, all of them, what is your assessment of Modi 3.0? Many are already calling it a U-turn government in opposition.
No, you see, it's a difficult lesson, it's a painful lesson for Modi 3.0 to learn. That's not in their psyche, it's not in their nature. Even today, they may be doing it grudgingly, hesitatingly, compulsively, not because they believe in it. And they are forever looking at ways and means to get around it, to befool their people. But the time has now come clearly where the internal contradictions are so high that they have to be paradoxes and clashes. You cannot in one breath, be it from the ramparts of Red Fort, talk of XYZ, and not take your allies on board before that. Today, I'm not on the merits, this is not the time for debating the merits, but one nation, one election, can you do it without some degree of very high level of consultation? What is the point of saying that I'm going to have, mark the word, uniform civil code? Now you call it secular civil code because you know you can't do it uniformly. So UCC, is it ever contemplated that Uttarakhand will have a UCC? You step out in a car into Uttar Pradesh, it has no UCC. You step out in another car to Madhya Pradesh, it has a UCC. Is it truly a uniform civil code or is it fooling the people? So if you are a resident of Uttarakhand, it will apply to you. If you start working in Delhi, it will not apply to you. These are methods to fool the people. And you can't fool all of them all the time. But I think the brakes are on. The realization, at least in the allies, is on. And as time goes, you will see that those brakes will become more and more vocal, which is the way it should be.
Sir, you are entering the Rajya Sabha, and we've seen that there have been major run-ins between the opposition and the chair of late in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. In fact, in the Rajya Sabha, there was also reports that the opposition was going to move a resolution to remove the vice president. How do you see these run-ins between the opposition and the chair?
I think it's very sad. I will, by the term of this, completion of this term, would have done more than 20 years in Rajya Sabha. I really cherish the parliamentary spirit of camaraderie. I genuinely believe in it. I believe that Central Hall is not a space or a place, it's a concept. I believe genuinely in cross-party large-heartedness, magnanimity. I believe genuinely in the characteristics of people like Vajpayee and Shekhawat ji. So with all those genuine beliefs, I feel sad. I feel very tormented. And I'll tell you why. You cannot negate democracy by saying that because of strong disagreement, I will suspend 142 people. You please assume that as they say, the opposition must have its say, because ultimately you, the government, will have your way. But for me to have my say and for you to have your way, you must allow that process to work itself out. You cannot have an artificial parliament that, and this is happening more than once, it is happening in states now. MLCs are being expelled. There are judgments of the Supreme Court which say that even if you are unruly, and I am the speaker, and I say you are unruly, I suspend you. Even the law is that the suspension must be for that session alone. If you go across sessions, 1 year, it's struck down by the courts. You are now having expulsions on the ground that you were there are some sub judice matters I will not name, where you are expelled for being very strong, vocal. Now let me assume that I will not speak like this, you will not speak like this. But does it mean that if he speaks like this, he is liable to be expelled? The essence of parliamentary democracy is a recognition that free speech, free thought, me having my say, howsoever objectionable it is truly, Parliament is Voltaire's place in operation. Voltaire said, I will disagree with what you say, but defend to death your right to say it.
So do you think that
So I don't agree with this at all, this kind of thing which is happening.
Do you think there should be parliamentary reforms because the chair belonging to a particular party, opposition has said they act in a partisan manner?
Of course. I have written about it. I have batted for it. I have no hesitation in saying that in the old days, and even now to some extent in England, you would identify that you, Mr. So-and-so, will be the speaker in the next parliament. And before the elections, other parties will either not set up anybody or you will be elected virtually unopposed. Now imagine the strength it gives to you if you are elected unopposed and you take the speaker's chair. You genuinely become partyless. What Mavlankar and our earlier ancestral speakers said. The strength is because you are not dependent. But that doesn't happen. Why can we not? The reform you are talking about, I am strongly for the reform that all parties agree prior to election that one seat we will give to Mr. XYZ. Whoever it is. See, the ban has to be from the government. Can't be from my opposition. So why can't they agree? And let him be elected unopposed. Or the person can resign from the party. See, once you are president or vice president, do you again come back to electoral politics? You don't. Same way have the speaker. And the speaker has such vast powers. He or she is the persona designata, the only person designated for defection. 10th schedule. If you are partisan, what is left of it? Today, see governors, for example. That is a very big failing of this government. They have demeaned, devalued and diminished every institution. I find it very sad. Governors, Mr. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib said that there cannot be two swords in one scabbard. In one state, only you can be the elected CM. I can be only a nominated governor. Both of us, एक म्यान में दो तलवार नहीं रह सकती है. आज क्या हो रहा है? I am the governor, I will not pass your bills 8 times, 10 times. And ultimately, when I go to the court and make sure that you have to pass the bill, then you refer it to the president. Governance is suffering. Actual decisions can't be taken. Federalism kahan ho raha hai? Governor is acting like another chief executive, as they say, the second sword in the same scabbard. He's speaking on nitty-gritty. The idea of our constitution is that when I elect you for 5 years, I elect you to do right, but I also elect you to do wrong. You are entitled to do your wrong. Next time you are supposed to be thrown out. It doesn't mean that if you are doing wrong, I, the governor, start coming and doing right, saying that, "Lo, Mr. Chief Minister, you are wrong. I think I am right. I am doing it." That's not the frame of our constitution. You have to wait till the people throw you out.
So just to clarify on the example, what you were saying is that both main parties probably nominate 2 people from one each from there, and they are elected unopposed.
No, for the speaker, you just decide an independent voice, and he resigns, he or she resigns, and they are elected. Governors, you start appointing people who are above, partisan party politics. There are enough people like that. But look at the kinds of people you do. You don't necessarily appoint them.
So, but before election, it won't be known which party will come in government. So that's why I was saying that.
Why? You don't have to know. For this system, you just agree on a person.
Okay, agree on a person. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Okay. Sir, elections are around the corner. Haryana first, and then obviously Jammu and Kashmir is also along with it, and then Maharashtra and Jharkhand follow. How do you see the Congress placed in these assembly polls?
See, first and foremost, it is very clear that, forget what I see, the opposition, the ruling parties themselves see this as a very fearful election for them. Otherwise, tell me, after so many decades of Haryana and Maharashtra going together, why has Maharashtra been deferred? Give me a single valid answer. Do the seasons of Maharashtra change in 2024, which didn't happen earlier? Do the festivals of Maharashtra change in 2024, which didn't happen in earlier times? Haryana and Maharashtra have always gone together. Secondly, everybody knows that these are states where the BJP is likely to do very, very badly. Obviously, elections are not held yet. But the point of the matter is that you are also doing everything possible. Now, just see the blitzkrieg you are doing on Ladli Behna scheme, which is, according to me, the only reason why you have postponed the elections in Maharashtra. Level playing field is the heart of free and fair elections. And free and fair elections are the heart of democracy. And therefore, democracy is the heart of basic structure. So by these gimmickries, which you think you are very clever, you are actually clearly subverting basic structure.
Sir, how do you see you've spoken on it briefly, but I would like to know your point of view. How do you see the Prime Minister's call of a secular civil code or a uniform civil code? Will it work in a country like India?
I have just said. You see, there is nothing wrong in concepts if they are with consensus. First of all, uniform civil code, the very word is a contradiction in terms. When you have a uniform, mark the word uniform, the constitution is the word uniform. You have a UCC, U being in inverted commas, in Uttarakhand. You travel 50 kilometers out into Uttar Pradesh, you don't have. What is uniform about it? I gave the example that if you are a resident of Uttarakhand and start working in Delhi, which law do you carry? Number 2, you therefore do the gimmick again, a second gimmick of calling it secular civil code. तो नामकरण बदलने से या लेवल बदलने से कॉन्सेप्ट बदल जाता है क्या? और इसमें बहुत सारे मुद्दे ऐसे हैं जो सिवाय समन्वय के सहमति के नहीं हो सकते कार्यान्वित. किस प्रकार से किसका लॉ मिनिमम स्टैंडर्ड होगा जिसको आप यूनिफॉर्म मानेंगे? आप पारसी हैं, आपका होगा, मैं मुस्लिम हूँ, मेरा होगा, वो हिंदू है, इसका होगा, चौथा आदमी क्रिश्चियन है, उसका, किसका न्यूनतम मापदंड लेंगे आप? So, ये सब चीज़ें आपको समन्वय से. आज हो क्या रहा है that you are trying to ram these concepts down the throat. That is the biggest problem. And you are creating it for political purposes, tick off some boxes in your agendas and create a kind of a hawa.
Just before elections, do you think that elections?
Also before elections, always.
Okay. So another major development that recently took place was Mr. Rahul Gandhi assumed the mantle of the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. Do you think that's helping the Congress, and do you see him as a future Prime Minister of this country?
Forget me. You ask your BJP friends. All this trolling we used to see ridiculous. Now why is there admiration, even if it's called grudging admiration? Why? Because you realize that lampooning a sincere person, lampooning a person who speaks direct, forthright and conceptual, not fluffy at the edges, rhetorical, political, big words. The sincerity is coming through and people are realizing it. And it's not, of course, started with the Bharat Jodo Yatra. It started with so many other abhiyans. People realize that he walks the talk, literally. People realize that he speaks, means what he says and says what he means. That's exactly the opposite of what the Honorable Prime Minister does. So I think this whole concept and equation is changing.
So you see him as a future PPM?
100% if the Congress is, wherever the Congress comes, 100%.
So my last question to you is that you've, as a lawyer, you've defended a lot of opposition leaders who are involved in cases stacked by the ED and other probe agencies. Now, Mr. Manish Sisodia got bail. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, but is still in jail. So how do you see these cases progressing? And would you say that June 4 has had an impact on any of these cases?
Well, I mean, it's not been only Mr. Manish Sisodia or Mr. Kejriwal. You forget I got him release orders 3 times in PMLA. Now what do I do if you are a manipulative or vindictive government and each time I get you a PMLA release, you go and arrest him in CBI only because you want to delay? This is not fair. Have you ever heard of a person getting bail or release in PMLA 3 times and then being arrested in CBI? Now they know that the time and the process is the punishment. They know that ultimately he deserves bail, but you must delay it. You must get political brownie points by the delay. And this has happened in other cases which I have done, be it Sanjay Singh, be it a lot of other political parties. I think this government has to realize, and in that process, mind you, we are proud in that we have made 6-7 major chinks in the armor of the PMLA. Soon the PMLA will be like a shield with holes. So it will cease to be a shield. And the prime object of the government to terrorize persons, especially and only in the opposition, with this so-called Brahmastra, will vanish. You will soon find PMLA not being of that relevance to the government as it has been for the last 10 years. They've been using it or misusing it. Today, we have laws which I've had the privilege of establishing and arguing before the court and led to judgments in our favor, which hold that grounds of arrest must be furnished. It was not there a few months ago. Which say that the reasons of arrest separately must be clear from the order, which say that despite the restrictive conditions of section 45, mere delay, if it is established, will lead to bail, which say that bail not jail is the norm even in PMLA cases, which says that you cannot use the the evidence of those who have turned approvers as the conclusive evidence without any corroborative evidence. I've just given you 7 holes in that shield or in that armory. So what is going to be left? That's because you have been misusing the PMLA. You have been overdoing the PMLA. That's because you have been completely distorting the PMLA. So the courts are reacting.